The security landscape in Kaduna State has reached a fever pitch this January 2026, and the latest reports coming across our desks are nothing short of harrowing. We are tracking a major breaking story where armed bandits have reportedly stormed the residence and community tied to the prominent Islamic cleric Vast Forest with 7 other victims. This isn't just another headline in a long string of tragedies. This is a landmark moment in the history of Nigeria's battle with internal insurgency. For years, the name Sheikh Gumi has been synonymous with the controversial push for dialogue and amnesty for these very groups. He has walked into the deepest parts of the woods, sat with these men, and pleaded their case to the federal government, arguing that they are victims of neglect who need understanding rather than bullets. But today, the harsh reality of the situation has struck at the heart of his own family, proving that the fire of banditry, once lit, consumes everything in its path without regard for past advocacy or ideological leanings. The details emerging from the scene in Kaduna paint a picture of a well-coordinated and ruthless operation. Eyewitnesses describe the attackers arriving in large numbers, riding on motorcycles and wielding sophisticated weaponry that far outmatches local vigilante efforts. The sound of gunfire echoed through the night, a sound that has unfortunately become a common lullaby for many in the northwest, but the target this time has sent shockwaves through the political and religious establishment. By the time the dust settled, the Sheikh's brother lay dead, a victim of the senseless violence that his own sibling had spent years trying to mitigate through words of peace. The abduction of 7 others adds a layer of ongoing agony to this story. These are fathers, mothers, or perhaps children whose names are now added to the growing list of Nigerians held captive in the dark underbelly of our forests. As we look at the situation in 2026, one has to ask, where is the promised safety? Despite the billions of naira invested in security infrastructure and the deployment of new surveillance technology, the bandits seem to operate with a level of freedom that mocks our national sovereignty. This event comes at a time when the security situation in Nigeria is already at a breaking point. Just weeks ago, at the start of January 2026, we saw horrific reports from Niger and Kebbi states where dozens of innocent villagers were tied up and massacred, their homes razed to the ground in a display of pure malice. The violence is spreading like a wildfire that refuses to be contained. For the people of Kaduna, this latest attack on the Gumi family is a sign that no one is truly safe. If a man with the influence and connections of Sheikh Gumi can lose a brother to the very people he sought to rehabilitate, what hope is there for the average farmer in a remote village? The irony is heavy, and the public discourse is already exploding with questions about the effectiveness of the carrot approach. Many are wondering if this personal tragedy will change the Sheikh's perspective on the possibility of peace through negotiation, or if it will lead to an even more desperate plea for the government to address the root causes of this madness. As we dive deeper into the implications of this attack, it is vital that we keep this conversation going and ensure these stories are not swept under the rug. If you find this coverage helpful and want to stay updated on the pulse of the nation, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel right now. Your subscription is the engine that keeps our reporting alive, allowing us to bring you the facts without fear or favor. By clicking that subscribe button and turning on notifications, you are joining a community of Nigerians and global observers who demand better, who want to see a safer Nigeria, and who believe that information is the first step toward change. It takes only a second, but it makes a difference to our ability to keep telling these stories. So please, subscribe and let's grow this platform together. The humanitarian cost of this specific raid is staggering. Beyond the immediate grief of the Gumi family, we must consider the psychological trauma being inflicted on the entire state. Kaduna has historically been a hub of education, commerce and culture in northern Nigeria, but today it is becoming a fortress of fear. The 7 individuals currently in captivity are likely being marched through difficult terrain, facing hunger, exhaustion, and the constant threat of death. Their families are left in a state of limbo, waiting for a phone call, a ransom, or a sign of life. This is the reality of 2026, a year that many hoped would bring a renewed hope in security, but which has so far been marred by the same old ghosts of violence. The government's response will be under a microscope. Will they launch a rescue mission using the new Special Forces units, or will they wait for the families to negotiate their way out? The silence from the authorities in the first few hours of such attacks is often the loudest part of the tragedy. Furthermore, we have to look at the political fallout. In the National Assembly, debates are already heating up regarding the 2026 security budget. Critics are pointing out that despite the massive allocations for defense, the return on investment in terms of human lives saved is dismal. The attack on the Gumi household will undoubtedly be used as a talking point for those who argue that the time of talk is over and the time for a total military crackdown is here. However, proponents of dialogue might argue that this attack is a symptom of a failed state where even the mediators are no longer respected. It is a complex, messy, and deeply emotional debate that touches the very soul of the country. The Sheikh himself has often said that the bandits are our children who have been led astray, but the question now is, what do you do when your children start killing their uncles? It is a heartbreaking dilemma that no family should ever have to face. As we continue to navigate these dark times, remember that staying informed is your greatest tool. We are committed to bringing you every update on the search for the 7 missing persons and any official statements from the Gumi family. If you haven't done so already, please like this video to help the YouTube algorithm share this news with more people who need to hear it. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our follow-up reports. Your engagement helps us stay independent and focused on the issues that truly matter to your safety and the future of our great nation. We are in this together, and your support through subscribing is what allows us to keep the light shining on these dark corners of our society. Looking ahead, the next few days will be critical for Kaduna. There are reports that local community leaders are meeting to discuss a new approach to self-defense as faith in the central government's ability to protect them continues to wane. This is a dangerous path, as the proliferation of local militias can often lead to more ethnic and communal clashes. Yet, when the state fails to provide the basic right to life, people feel they have no choice but to take matters into their own hands. The story of the Sheikh's brother is a catalyst for a much larger conversation about the social contract. In Nigeria, if the contract is broken, how do we fix it? We see the pain in the eyes of the people on the streets of Kaduna, and we hear the frustration in the voices of those who have lost loved ones. This 2026 crisis is not just about bandits, it's about the very survival of our communal peace. In closing this segment of our report, we must reflect on the sheer scale of the challenge ahead. The bandits are no longer just roaming cattle rustlers. They are an organized, well-armed, and financially motivated force that has successfully intimidated one of the most powerful countries in Africa. The death of Sheikh Gumi's brother and the abduction of 7 others is a grim reminder that the forest has no favorites. It is a call to action for every Nigerian, from the corridors of power in Abuja to the local governments, to rethink what it means to be secure. We will remain on the front lines of this story, bringing you the voices of the victims, the analysis of the experts, and the latest moves from the security agencies. Please stay safe, stay vigilant, and don't forget to subscribe to stay connected with us as we follow this developing story to its conclusion.